no, 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 never. I'll never, never, no, no, never. Oh, I'll never fail. Put your hands together. I'll never. What the Lord has done. Yes, I'll never. Oh, never shall. Yeah. I never. No, never. So God, we thank you even right now. You are working it out for our good. We thank you in advance for this word. It's tailor-made for our spiritual growth and our development. So much so, God, that it will cause us to run on to see what the proverbial end will be. Now, God, let the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight. Oh, God, you are my strength. You are my redeemer. Make us witness and warriors, testifying saints, to goodness and in your grace. And we thank you in advance for the healing, the help, and the hope that this message will bring to all of us. We sign, we seal, and we deliver this prayer in the only name that matters, the mighty name, the matchless name, the magnanimous name, Jesus the Christ. Every heart, every believer said amen. 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 Look at your neighbor, square an eye, and just repeat after me 2 words. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, it's time. It's time. It's time. It's time. It's time. Luke chapter 13. Luke chapter 13, Luke's Gospel chapter 13. Luke chapter 13. Luke chapter 13. Beginning at verse number 10. Better yet, let's start at 9. Luke 13, verse number 9. Luke chapter 13, beginning at verse number 9. Verse 9, Luke 13 at verse 9 reads on this wise. Now, he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath. There was a woman who had a disabling spirit. I'm reading from the English Standard Version. She had this disabling spirit for 18 years. Look at your neighbor and say 18 years. She was bent over and could not fully straighten herself. When Jesus saw her, he called her over and said to her, woman, you are freed from your disability. Verse 12. Verse 12 says, and he laid his hands on her, and immediately, look at your neighbor and say, it's time, it's time, it's time. And immediately, she was made straight, and she glorified God. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, this morning's sermon subject is strength to show up. You may be seated. Strength. Strength to show up. Strength to show up. Might I preface this message at the beginning to tell you, let you know that all of us at some point of time or the other have felt weak. You felt torn, you felt wore out, you felt exhausted, you felt the weight of the world on your shoulders. And so much so that you feel as though perhaps because of the weight that's on your shoulder, perhaps because of the fatigue, the exhaustion, you don't feel as if you can take any more. I mean, you're literally at the end of your rope. I mean, you don't really know what else to, what to do, where to go, where else to turn. You are physically fatigued. You are physically frail. You are tired. You are exhausted. You are fatigued. The energy that you once had seemingly has been zapped out of you, so much so that how you feel on the inside is reflected on your countenance on the outside. Folks see you, and you were once vibrant. You were once spirited. You were once that individual that folk would gravitate to, that folk would rush to for encouragement and spiritual vigor, because you had an encouraging word to say. You rushed to embrace people. You rushed to love folk. You rushed to help folk. But now the encourager needs to be encouraged. Now the uplifter, y'all gonna help me in just a minute, needs to be uplifted. Now the lover needs to be loved. And as a result of the feeling of fatigue and exhaustion, you ostracize yourself from the community of believers. You know it's right to come, but you don't come because of how you feel. And you understand that if you find yourself coming, there is a possibility that somewhere God will be able to prick your spirit, to be able to lift your bowed down head, to be able, by way of his Holy Spirit, to whisper down through the corridors of your imagination and to cause you to see some things that you've never seen before. But it's hard for God to do that if you're stuck in your feelings. Oh, y'all need to help me here. It's hard for God to talk to you when you're stuck in your... Y'all ain't saying nothing. It's hard for God to lift you up when you're stuck in your... It's hard for God to encourage you and to tell you that the best days are yet ahead of you when you're stuck in your... Look at your neighbor and say, you ain't got time to be stuck in your feelings when God has got work for you to... Here it is, 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 here it is. All of us knows how it feels to be exhausted. That at the end of your rope syndrome. But how do you handle life? When you've taken all that you can take. Are you in here? How do you handle life when you're on the first floor and you feel as though you cannot go any lower? How do you handle life when you can't get no sleep? How do you handle life when you're in a mall of 5,000 folk, stuck in the middle, and you feel all alone? I'm talking to somebody here right now. How do you feel? How do you handle? How do you cope? How do you deal with life when everybody has left you and you are on the island all by yourself? When you are alone, that's when you realize
that you're not alone. Man, y'all thought it was going to be something heavier than that, didn't you? Y'all missed it. I said, when you find yourself alone, that's when you realize you're not alone. God cannot talk to some of us because we have yet to get rid of them who do too much talking. Man, I'm already in my... Man, y'all hear what I just said? And it's hard to hear them and him. Come on, y'all. Just warmed over food at the same time. And so the question now is, if I can get to that place, if I can get to that proper place of alignment, and if I can get to that place where God can talk to me, where God can lead me, where God can guide me, he may not take the situation from me, but he'll give me peace. Man, I'm trying to help somebody, huh? Okay, can I put it in life where you can reach it? Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is God's poise in the midst of your problem. God may never take you out of the storm, but he'll give you peace in the middle of... I ain't got nothing right here. I wish I had about 25 folk in the building who could testify. You've been sick, but you still got peace. You've been wounded, but you still got peace. You messed up, tore up, but you still got peace. Broke, busted, and disgusted, but you still got peace. No weapon that's formed against... I still have peace. Whoa! So, you can't disturb my peace because you're not the author of peace. Man, y'all sit down. You didn't give it to me, so you don't have the right to take my peace away. And I wish I had about 20 folk in the building who can look at that booger in the eye and say, this day, you ain't gonna steal my peace. You ain't gonna take my joy. Victory belongs to me. Because I'm looking at a few defeated faces this morning. Oh, you ain't got to say, man, just look at a man and I'll understand. I ain't trying to pick on nobody, but I stopped by to tell you this morning that God has given you strength just to show up in this place. And he didn't give you strength for you to sit there. He gave you strength to stand on what you know. I'm the head and not the tail. I'm above and not beneath. I'm the lender, not the borrower. No, I'm bad. Stand up on your feet. Get yourself together. Wipe your tears and lift up your hands and say, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad. I will. Woo.